What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I have an awesome show for you today. I do a lot of research on a daily basis on a wide variety of topics, one of them being leadership. And I stumbled across an article from the great Warren Buffett titled, "Warren Buffett Thinks This Leadership Habit Separates the Best from the Rest." It's a timeless piece of advice from the Oracle of Omaha. Unfortunately, it's quickly becoming a rarity. Leadership, specifically, something that I've been around for almost 2 decades now, all right? In this article, I could see mistakes that I made and things that I do which align to what Buffett says. That's why I'm sharing this article with you guys to give you perspective on leadership. If you own a company, if you're a manager, if you're thinking about becoming a leader, if you have a family and you're the leader of that family, this will be super applicable. As we jump into the show, all I ask is that you smash that like button. If you like the show, consider subscribing. And you know what, everybody? Drop a comment below. Let's have a discussion about leadership and what you think it means to you and what Warren Buffett has to say about it. Let's get into the show. Okay, so Warren Buffett, the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, will turn 91. Remarkably, at the age when most people have regressed to the caretaking of others, Buffett chugs along and continues to capture the world's attention as the greatest investor of this generation. Buffett has amassed a following of millions who've learned many great tips from him, including me specifically on investments. His sound wisdom doesn't end there. If you're a student or practitioner of good leadership, Buffett believes that long-term success is achieved not merely by your own doing, but by making smart leadership decisions that will yield results for yourself and your business. Case in point, Buffett has learned that making smart leadership decisions requires modeling the leadership behaviors of the best managers. Copy from the best, Warren Buffett says. In Buffett's 2015 letter to shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway, he summarized how one arrives at leadership greatness in a few words. And I quote, "Much of what you become in life depends on whom you choose to admire and copy." End quote. The quote was in reference to Tom Murphy, an exceptional leader who taught Buffett everything he learned about managing a company. Murphy built Capital Cities Communications in a telecommunications empire. In 1995, he sold the company to Disney for approximately $19 billion. Murphy, who was Buffett's biggest admirer, gave plenty of lessons on the best management practices that Buffett adopted for his own companies, including number 1, which really lands with me specifically, as I, in the beginning of my leadership 20 years ago, give or take a year or something along those lines, 2004, yeah, so 17 years ago, sorry for my math, I did not do this. Many years later, I learned to. And I offer this lesson to you because of how important it is to understand at any level of leadership. You might be screwing it up. You might not be. Either way, it's a great lesson. Number 1, Buffett says, give autonomy to your employees. Autonomy, or the ability to control what you do, when you do it, and with whom, is one of the fundamental elements of what intrinsically motivates human beings, which leads to better performance. Autonomy leads to us to think creatively, which breeds innovation. Autonomy is also motivating because it is more satisfying, but you need to set the right environment. Push decisions and the making of decisions as far down as possible, preferring everybody to participate, adopting agile ways of working and adjusting to skill and will, all right? Using myself as an example, before I was an entrepreneur and I was in leadership positions, I didn't push anything to anyone and felt it upon myself to accomplish anything or everything, because in my mindset then, if I didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done well, and I probably didn't trust anyone to do anything well, so I handled all of it myself, all right? Specifically when it comes to decision making, all right? As my career grew on, as I got better, as I learned from mistakes, all right, I would pretty much try to push this style of leadership upon anyone willing to be led this way. And when I had managers, I taught them to also utilize this practice, which helped greatly when it came to management from a high level and decent leadership practice. I would highly recommend this style to anyone. We're also going to put the link of this article in the show notes for you to bring up and look at and build a perception of it on your own as well, not just taking my word and Buffett's word for it. So now we lead into his second piece of advice here, which goes hand in hand with the first piece. Quote, learn to delegate your authority. Another type of mindset required to build your own success, passed on from Murphy to Buffett, is something that can be benefited to every busy leader. Learn to delegate better. Delegate doesn't come easy for perfectionists trying to solve a problem on their own to scale their business. Leaders have to continuously trust other people's ability and brain power to create and produce great things. As one's management responsibility grows, leaders and founders will eventually realize that they have to learn to delegate their weakness to other people's strengths. The first pillar to success, delegation, is to have a great team around you who can handle the task. And two-way trust must be established for anyone to feel comfortable delegating and sharing responsibilities. So, as an example here, delegation can be tough, especially for new leaders. I know it was tough for me as a new leader, as a new entrepreneur. As time went on, I looked for opportunities to delegate. And I can tell you that, using a live example for you guys to learn from, I have a relatively new team member helping in a bigger capacity going on right now with the companies than they had originally. And I gave them several projects to get their feet wet with. And it's not easy, to be honest, on any side of this relationship. However, it is the complete delegation of projects to someone to get their feet wet, to learn, to make the decisions, to make the mistakes, to have fun with, to have a problem with, to really learn how it is to accomplish work with my coaching, but their decision-making, their attention, and their process at the forefront of the entire company. Delegation is vitally important for leaders, and I'm really, really happy that Buffett brought this up. All right, if you don't delegate, look for opportunities in medial things to delegate, to get started, and go from there. Your team, you'll empower them, they'll begin to trust you more, and they'll make better decisions as time comes. Number 3, hire for integrity. This is a great one, and it's commonly overlooked when it comes to leadership and referred to in recruiting primarily. Buffett learned from Murphy the competitive advantage that comes from having integrity guide business decisions, and it starts with whom you hire. Buffett advises leaders to weigh integrity above all traits when assessing job candidates during the interview process, and for good reason. When it comes to hiring, it's a sure bet that some job candidates will display a lack of integrity in the interview process. I don't know why I can't pronounce certain words today, guys. I apologize. This is why Buffett is quoted everywhere with this timeless piece of advice. We look for 3 things when it comes to hiring people. We look for intelligence, we look for initiative or energy, and we look for integrity. And if they don't have the latter, the first two will kill you. Because if you're going to get someone without integrity, you want them lazy and dumb. End quote. So, with all that said, it's important, for me included, to think about the hiring process in leadership, as leadership, not just recruiting. And I have my own practices when it comes to recruiting. I have room for improvement just by reading this article, which means most likely everyone listening would likely benefit from it too. I don't think Warren Buffett's the end-all be-all. However, I think being a 91-year-old, one of the wealthiest men living, a multi-billionaire, he has a lot to offer, and him putting out information like this for free is valuable. So that is what Warren Buffett has to say about leadership, and I agree, and my perspective on it is this advice for free could change your life, could change your leadership, and could change your business. Okay, I couldn't pronounce a lot of words today, and I made a lot of mistakes, but such is life. And I think being vulnerable and real and raw is important for people to realize that we all make mistakes, we all mess things up. And in this case, I messed up a lot in leadership, just like every other leader would admit as well if they're truly a leader. And this article can bring a lot of value for people looking to improve their leadership style and or their companies. So if you guys got anything from this video, all I ask is you hit that like button. It takes like a quarter of a second. Consider subscribing if you liked the show, and leave a comment. Let's discuss leadership. Hopefully next week I'll be able to pronounce my words better. I'll catch you next week.